Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly mind-bending scientific phenomenon. Picture the driest, most parched Earth imaginable, desperate for a drop of rain, right? But what if I told you that very same dry Earth is exactly what sets the stage for a catastrophic flood? It sounds completely backwards, I know. Can a drought actually cause a flash flood? But according to some fascinating data straight from the Weather Channel, you might actually be way more likely to see a dangerous flash flood right after a severe drought than if that drought had never happened in the first place. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why. Think about healthy, porous soil. It eagerly absorbs rainfall like a giant sponge. But during a prolonged dry spell, the top layer of grasses and trees dies off and the soil beneath gets intensely compacted. In fact, it stops acting like soil and starts to act more like solid concrete. So when a sudden downpour finally arrives, the earth simply cannot absorb it. Instead of soaking in, that massive volume of water just piles up on top of this concrete-like surface, rapidly running off and violently flooding low-lying areas. It's a cruel irony, really. The land desperately needs the rain, but its condition makes it totally reject the water when it finally falls. Now that we've unraveled that paradox, let's zoom out to the Lextute material. Section 1. Demystifying Drought. What exactly is a drought? Let's establish the technical baseline here. A drought isn't just a skipped rainy season. It's a prolonged period of abnormally low rainfall leading to a severe shortage of water. The absolutely critical word here is prolonged. We aren't just talking about a couple of weeks without a shower. These punishing dry spells can drag on for agonizing months, or, in extreme cases, even years. And this isn't isolated to one specific landscape. Droughts can strike environments and choke communities literally anywhere in the world. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 2. 4 major causes. What exactly disrupts the rain? It isn't just a random string of bad luck. There are 4 primary culprits driving these severe dry periods: climate change, El Niño and La Niña, deforestation, and water overuse. We're going to examine how each one uniquely disrupts our planet's delicate balance. First up is climate change. This goes way beyond the thermometer just creeping up. Rising global heat fundamentally rewires our planet's precipitation network. It's baking moisture out of the Earth much faster than nature can ever replenish it. The ultimate result? An alarming increase in both the frequency and the pure severity of droughts globally. Next, let's talk about transpiration. Think of forests as massive natural humidifiers for the planet. Trees constantly draw water up from their roots and release it back into the atmosphere as vapor. When vast tracts of forests are cleared through deforestation, this vital part of the water cycle is completely severed. Without the transpiration from those trees, the surrounding land loses its moisture buffer and dries out incredibly fast. Then we have El Niño and La Niña. Now, unlike deforestation, these are entirely natural climate phenomena occurring in the ocean. But ma'am, they cast a very long shadow. They completely scramble normal global weather patterns. What's vital to understand here is the stark global contrast they create. While they might dump excessive, torrential rainfall causing floods in one hemisphere, they simultaneously trigger prolonged, punishing dry periods in completely different regions. Finally, human behavior plays a massive role through water overuse. Between heavy agricultural demands, thirsty industrial operations, and high personal consumption, we are simply draining the tank. We're rapidly depleting our limited supplies, and this is especially disastrous in areas that already receive incredibly limited rainfall to begin with. Which brings us to Section 3, the devastating impacts, a 5-fold ripple effect. The sheer scale of drought devastation is staggering. We can break it down into 5 critical impacts: agricultural losses, water scarcity, ecosystem damage, increased wildfires, and socioeconomic stress. Let's unpack how these interconnected crises unfold on the ground. The most immediate threats are to our absolute survival basics: food and drinking water. With agricultural losses, we see withered harvests and dying livestock, leading directly to massive economic hits and food shortages. Parallel to this is the terrifying reality of water scarcity. Communities suddenly find themselves without enough safe drinking water. But it's not just thirst. A lack of water severely impacts basic sanitation and hygiene, which very quickly spirals into widespread health issues. And that localized scarcity cascades right into the broader ecosystem. Plants and animals depend entirely on water to thrive. When the tap is turned off, we witness severe habitat loss and tragic wildlife die-offs. And then comes the spark. These intensely dry conditions transform lush forests and grasslands into literal tinderboxes. They become highly susceptible to catastrophic wildfires, which sweep through, destroying whatever managed to survive the initial dry spell. So, the crucial point is, all of this environmental and agricultural collapse inevitably triggers profound human suffering. We are talking about intense socioeconomic stress. When land can no longer support farming or provide drinking water, people are forced to flee, leading to mass human displacement. Desperation breeds tension, often sparking bitter conflicts over whatever shrinking resources remain. It's a brutal economic hardship, particularly devastating for regions whose entire livelihoods rely heavily on agriculture. But it's not all doom and gloom. Being informed is the very first step. Section 4, Steps to Mitigate Droughts. Taking action today. According to the Letitude analysis, understanding the mechanics of a drought is just the baseline. Being proactive is how we fight back. Here are 3 practical steps we can take to reduce the severity of these crises. Step 1. Conserve water. It sounds basic, but fundamentally changing how we use water drastically reduces the strain on already stressed systems. Step 2. Protect forests. Because we now know how vital that transpiration process is, preserving our tree canopies is literally preserving our rainfall. Step 3. Adopt sustainable agriculture. We absolutely must champion farming techniques that respect local water limits and soil health, rather than draining them dry. We've seen today how delicate the balance is, and how easily a dried-out, concrete-like landscape can suddenly become a flooded disaster zone. The science is incredibly clear. Our actions, from clearing forests to overconsuming resources, can actively disrupt the global water cycle. So, I want to leave you with this thought to ponder. If our collective actions have the power to disrupt the water cycle so severely, what steps will you take today to help restore it? Thank you for exploring the science with me on this explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.